That was the moment I realized Karen had arrived. It was a normal Tuesday morning, and my driveway was filled with two city maintenance trucks. The workers, both wearing neon vests, had come to inspect a broken drainage line that had been flooding my lawn every time it rained. They were calm, professional, and just doing their job. But the sound of their drills must have triggered something in Karen's mind, because within seconds, she was marching over in her fluffy robe, coffee mug in hand, fury written all over her face. "What do you think you're doing?" "This is a private neighborhood," she barked, waving her mug like a weapon. The lead inspector, a tall man named Rick, politely explained, "Ma'am, we're here on a city order." "This property is part of the drainage system," Karen interrupted. "City order? Don't lie to me! I know the HOA president, and she didn't approve this." Rick and his partner exchanged a quick glance. They weren't supposed to reveal their credentials unless necessary, but something about her tone made them uneasy. I tried stepping in, hoping to calm things down. "Karen, please," I said carefully. "They're from the city. They just need to check the pipes." She spun toward me like a storm. "You called them, didn't you? You think you can do whatever you want because your house faces the park? You're ruining the neighborhood." I could see Rick subtly pressing the camera button on his chest. His badge glimmered under the morning sun, but Karen was too blinded by rage to notice. She kept shouting, accusing, and even threatened to report them to the HOA board. The workers tried to stay professional, but her insults were getting personal now. She called them unqualified, trespassers, and illegal contractors. Then, crack! Karen slammed her mug on the back of the truck, shattering it, coffee spilling down the metal. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Every neighbor's curtain twitched. Rick finally stepped forward, voice firm but calm. "Ma'am, we're not contractors. We're city inspection officers. You're currently interfering with official work." Karen froze. Her eyes darted from his badge to his clipboard, then back to her smashed mug. For the first time that morning, she didn't have a word to say. And that's when things got really interesting. Karen stood there, frozen like a statue, her mouth half open, eyes darting between the workers and the badge she'd just noticed. The once red flush of anger drained from her face. For a few seconds, the street was silent except for the faint hiss of the inspection equipment still running. Rick calmly clipped his badge higher on his vest. "Ma'am," he said evenly, "we were sent by the city's infrastructure department. You just interrupted an active inspection order." Karen blinked, trying to recover her footing. "Well, I didn't know that," she stammered, her tone now softer but still defensive. "You should have told me before you started making all that noise." Rick didn't reply. He simply pointed toward the front of his truck, where a small body camera's red light was blinking. "Everything is recorded, ma'am, including your behavior." That single sentence changed everything. Karen's jaw tightened. You recorded me? Without my permission?" Rick explained. "This is standard protocol for city workers during public inspections. It protects everyone involved, especially when there are misunderstandings." Behind them, his partner Jake quietly took pictures of the drain line, staying focused, but I could see him smirking slightly. Everyone on this street knew Karen's reputation, the kind of person who complained about noise levels, when kids rode bicycles or accused Amazon drivers of loitering. Now, the neighborhood's self-proclaimed rule enforcer had just screamed at two government employees on camera. I could tell Karen was scrambling to find a way out. "Listen," she said, trying to fake a smile. "Let's not blow this out of proportion. I'm sure we can forget this little misunderstanding." Rick remained professional. "Ma'am, our department has a zero interference policy. This footage will be attached to our incident report." Her forced smile cracked. "Incident report? Wait, hold on. You're not going to report me, are you?" Rick didn't answer. He just signaled to Jake, who packed up the equipment. The two men stepped aside to take a brief call, probably with their supervisor. Karen turned to me, her voice trembling. "You're not going to let them report me, right? You can tell them it was just a mistake?" But I didn't respond. For years, she'd treated everyone in this community like she owned the place. Maybe it was time someone finally stood up to her. Across the street, a few neighbors had started peeking out. Cameras were rolling, and this time, Karen wasn't the one in control of the narrative. By the time the city inspectors wrapped up their call, half the neighborhood had gathered near their porches, pretending to water plants or check mail. Everyone knew something big was happening. And with Karen, it always did. Rick and Jake stood by their truck, quietly reviewing footage on their tablet. Karen hovered nearby, arms folded, her fake smile twitching every few seconds. "I think we can all agree this was just a little misunderstanding, right?" She kept repeating, as if saying it enough times might make it true. But when Rick finished his call, he calmly said, "Our supervisor advised us to contact local law enforcement to make an official note. It's standard when there's property interference." Karen's eyes widened. "You called the police?" Rick nodded. "They're already on the way." I swear you could almost hear her panic. Karen's entire personality flickered from confident to desperate in seconds. "Wait, no, you can't. I'll talk to the HOA. They'll handle it. This doesn't need police involvement," Jake replied coolly. "Ma'am, the HOA doesn't have authority over city inspections." That line hit her like a slap. For years, she had used the Joe A as her personal power badge. Reporting, unauthorized flower colors, too loud wind chimes, and even once, a suspicious lawn chair. And now, that badge meant nothing. Within minutes, a patrol car rolled up. Its lights weren't flashing, but its presence turned every head on the block. Officer Daniels, calm, authoritative, stepped out and approached Rick first. The two exchanged a few quiet words. Then Daniels turned to Karen. "Ma'am, we received a report of interference with city workers. Can you explain what happened?" Karen's voice trembled. "It's all just a big mix-up. I thought they were contractors damaging property." Rick handed over his tablet, showing the video footage. Karen's shouting filled the air. "Get off this property!" followed by her slamming the mug. Daniel's face said it all. He turned back to her. "Ma'am, this footage is very clear. You interfered with authorized city personnel. That's a violation of Section 3-42 of our municipal code." Karen's jaw dropped. "A violation? Are you saying I'm getting arrested?" Daniels shook his head slightly. "No, ma'am, but there will be a citation, and this incident will be noted in the city's inspection report." You could almost see the fire in her eyes fade. The same woman who terrorized delivery drivers was now trembling on her own sidewalk, and as the officer began writing her citation, someone across the street whispered, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Guess the HOA queen finally got dethroned." The police car eventually pulled away, leaving behind an eerie silence. Karen stood in her driveway, clutching the yellow citation slip like it was burning her fingers. Her once proud posture had vanished, shoulders slumped, face pale. For the first time in years, the self-proclaimed ruler of our street looked defeated. Rick and Jake finished packing up their gear. Before leaving, Rick turned to me. "We'll file our report with the city. They might reach out if there are follow-up questions." He paused, glancing at Karen. "You may want to keep this footage safe too, just in case." I nodded. Karen didn't say a word. She simply walked back toward her house, her slippers dragging on the pavement, muttering under her breath. The door slammed shut with a hollow echo that felt like the end of a long rain. But that wasn't the end. Not even close. 2 days later, the footage surfaced. Someone, probably one of the neighbors who'd recorded, from across the street, uploaded a short clip titled, "Whole Lady Screams at City Inspectors." Within hours, it had thousands of views. By the next morning, the local Facebook group was on fire. Memes, GIFs, even edited remixes of her shouting filled the comments section. Karen tried to fight back online, claiming it was edited and taken out of context. But when Rick's official body cam footage was attached to the city's public record, the truth became undeniable. Every second of her outburst, from the insults to the smashed mug, was right there, crystal clear. The HOA board called an emergency meeting. Karen didn't show up. Instead, a week later, a letter went out to all residents. Due to recent events, Mrs. Karen Peterson has resigned from her position as community standards liaison. That was the HOA's polite way of saying she was done. In the weeks that followed, the neighborhood felt lighter. People smiled more. Kids played on the street, again without being scolded for noise. The new liaison, a retired teacher named Mrs. Perez, encouraged block parties and barbecues instead of complaint forms. As for Karen, she barely left her house. The once vocal watchdog of our neighborhood became a ghost. Blinds drawn, driveway empty. The only sign of her presence was the faint flicker of a TV late at night. One morning, I saw her peeking through her curtain as I waved to the city crew, returning to finish the drainage work. Rick gave me a nod, smiling. I smiled back, knowing one thing for sure. Sometimes karma doesn't knock. It shows up in a city truck with a camera. Enjoying this wild HOA drama? Hit that subscribe button for more unbelievable Karen Diaries stories straight from the suburbs. If this one made you shake your head or laugh, give it a like and drop a comment below telling me what you would have done if you were in my shoes when Karen yelled at the city inspectors.